everyone, and welcome to Bob's Garden. Today we're going to talk about the weather and weather record keeping for gardeners. I'm kind of mystified as to why more gardeners don't keep track of rainfall and all the other aspects of weather. And it's a kind of like a memory test. If you write things down, you'll know from year to year what happens. Now you can see down there that we're live off a lake. And this whole thing with me started with I was having an argument with a friend about when the lake froze. And I said it froze on such and such a date, and he said no, it was going on another date. So I started keeping track of when the lake froze and when it broke up. And that's a natural. A lot of people do that. They have contests on the rivers to when the ice will break up. And so I wrote those things down. And then one day I got a minimum maximum thermometer, which remembers the highest temperature and lowest temperature. So I started writing that down. So it evolved. Now, as far as weather stations go, you can have a weather station that's a complete unit, but I built mine from components over the years. The new ones that are out there, they have everything, and it automatically goes into your computer and gives you records everything for you, but I have to do everything by hand. So I'll show you the components. Up here we've got the wind gauge up there on the roof. It needs to be a certain distance away from structures in order to work properly. And probably the most useful thing anybody could ever have is a rain gauge. This is what's called a tipping bucket rain gauge. It's 8 inches from here to here, which is the standard for the for the National Weather Service. And now you can get these little ones that you can hang up. They're the small square ones, and that'll give you a fair idea, but this is very accurate. It measures in hundredths of an inch. So what happens is this collects the rain, and we'll open this up and we'll show you, and there's a little tipper in here. So you can see there's a little tiny bit of water, and when the water gets up to 100th of an inch, it tips. And then it just pours out, and then so you don't ever have to empty it. And then it goes the water will go on this end and tip it that way. And you can see that there's a little hole in the bottom here, and the only thing you have to be careful about is keeping that free of any kind of debris that might collect in here. It's very, very error-free. And it rarely breaks down. I've had this for more than 30 years. I think twice I had to change. There's a little chip in here. And it's quite easy to change. There's a magnet that goes by that chip right here. And as it moves, it then will record 100th of an inch. And it can be adjusted and calibrated so you can do that. And then we just put this back in here like this, and we're good to go. So let's go look at the rain gauge now. I believe we should have 3/100ths of an inch of rain. So one of the great things about having a rain gauge like this is that you don't have to go outside to see how much rain you have, especially if it's going to be pouring. And we're going to have a storm tomorrow. They say we're going to have 2 to 3 inches of rain. So I don't want to have to empty a rain gauge and come back in the house. So here is showing, this little arrow here will show if it's like 1.13 inches. So this 3 represents 0.03 inches. And you see we tipped it back and forth 3 times. Now sometimes I kind of miss a little bit. That's why I said that I believe it should be 3/100ths of an inch. And then it's just a matter of resetting it when you're for the next day, and it'll go back to 0. So there's a little tiny battery in there. We change once a year, and it's very easy. We have the wires that come into the house. I used to use a battery one. They have those available. But the batteries were always running out, and when it get cold, the batteries would not work, and I was constantly having to change batteries. So I hardwired this. But if you have a remote station, then you would use a battery. Here's the wind gauge, and you can see right now it's coming from the north at 1 mile an hour, and we can flip this switch here, and high wind gust was 8 miles per hour. and the average speed is a half a mile. You don't have to get so crazy with it. I think the best thing for you is the rain gauge. But this is a very, very useful instrument, the barometer. I can look at this in the morning and it will tell me right now it's 30.17 inches. This was the high today, and we can switch over here and you can see the barometer is starting to fall. Well, if you use that with the wind gauge in the wind direction, when this goes around to the northeast, you know you're going to have a storm. So this is very useful for when I go out to work in the garden. I check the barometer. Even though you get a local weather forecast, it's not as specific as for here. I'll know that a thunderstorm is coming in before the TV weather station will tell us, because this will be dropping at 3 to 4 hundredths of an inch an hour. So this one also has the maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and right here, this is the wind chill. There's a jumper wire from here to here, and it uses the wind amount to calculate the wind chill. So you see, it's a pretty cold day today with a wind chill of that's 9 degrees. So again, this gives you a really good information as to how you plan your day. So I have weather records going back over 30 years, and we have conversations with people that says, oh, it doesn't get down to a minus 11 anymore, or it doesn't get down to minus 12. And I actually have the written weather records. I actually got called up by a lawyer. They needed to know a specific day where there was a windstorm on the lake, and there was a kind of a legal case going on with a rowing team there. And he said, do you have August of such and such a date? And I said, yes, I do. And I was able to testify about it. So again, you don't have to go so crazy like I do. But we have our minimum and maximum temperatures. And then this gives us the average here. And this is a measurement on how much what they call heating and cooling days. The heating days deviates from 65 degrees. So a heating day is what it takes to get up to 65, and a cooling day is what it takes to get down to 65. So we have our rain and our barometer. I do the wind, the fastest mile, the direction it came from, the sky cover, the humidity, and special notes. So again, you don't have to get as crazy as that. It may seem a little crazy, but it's a very useful thing, especially the rain gauge, to help you with your gardens. So I hope that it gives you some information on using the weather records to plan and to keep up with your weather. The ones that are the small rain gauges are great to have in the vegetable garden because you don't need the accuracy. So thank you for watching Bob's Garden, and we'll see you next time. Remember to share, subscribe, and comment on videos, and remember, be curious, not judgmental.